I'm Daniel Blake, the composer of Got My Wings. I'd like to talk a little bit about a project that has brought together a truly remarkable community of artists, organizers, and educators that includes Westchester Ballet Company, NU Builds, Release Aging People from Prison, Rehabilitation Through the Arts, and Creative Alliance Project, who produced the performance and panel discussions you are about to see. I composed this music amidst the deep uncertainty and upheaval of the early COVID-19 era. This period shined a light on an urgent need for societal healing, a need that, as many communities are all too aware, has been burning for years. Out of all this, a question emerged. Can we really be free, given the sheer magnitude of suffering we find all around us? Where can we find our freedom? This last question came from my reading Jarvis Jay Masters, whose writings are the primary inspiration behind Got My Wings. Jarvis Jay Masters is a world-renowned author and Buddhist practitioner who has been incarcerated on death row in San Quentin, California for over 3 decades for a crime he did not commit. Through all the unspeakable hardship he has experienced, Jarvis Masters discovered a deep well of human compassion within himself, which he shares with everyone he encounters. He has brought safety to a dangerous place and comfort to those who struggle there. This compassion travels far beyond the prison walls, pouring forth in his prose, much of it written while in solitary confinement. Especially moving is his celebrated memoir, recently selected by Oprah Winfrey to her book list, which is called That Bird Has My Wings, to which the ballet's title refers. While working on Got My Wings, I began a regular correspondence with Jarvis. The audio clips you'll hear at the beginning of the performance are drawn from these conversations. I included them to foreground some of the central issues that shaped the development of Got My Wings. In the first clip, you'll hear Jarvis talks about home and what that might mean for someone in his situation. And in the second clip, we learn about Jarvis's perspective on death penalty abolition, specifically his opposition to replacing capital punishment with what he calls the other death penalty, or life without the possibility of parole. In the third and final clip, Jarvis responds to my question about the ethics of being alive in a world with so much suffering. What kind of action can we take to make the most of this opportunity to be alive right now? Got My Wings then takes off with the image of a bird about to take flight, a familiar metaphor for freedom that is interpreted beautifully and with grace by choreographer Tomiko Magario, as well as the amazing young artists of Westchester Ballet Company. Freedom as flight is explored throughout the 3 movements of Got My Wings, where each movement is based on Jarvis Masters' writings and interviews. The first movement revisits the theme of home that I mentioned a moment ago. The second movement explores love as a force, giving freedom to another, where our beloved can take flight, even if that means we've got to let them go. Finally, in the third movement, we return to the theme of action, the kind of action which furthers our journey toward finding our own freedom. We hear Jarvis remind us that just because you're out doesn't mean that you're free. I want to end with one last reflection on taking action. As an artist, I normally prefer to let an artistic work speak for itself, but I feel this situation is different. Jarvis Jay Masters inspired the creation of Got My Wings because of an unfathomable sacrifice. Somewhere along the way in putting this piece together, we all began to see that this isn't only about inspiration. It's about using creative work as a starting point to communicate across our differences about one of the most complex and poorly understood topics in our society, which is that of incarceration and its effects on individuals and their families. To do this, we're joined by some amazing panelists. They are artists, intellectuals, and passionate activists, all of whom have been directly impacted by incarceration here in New York State. They are members of the organizations Release Aging People from Prison and Rehabilitation Through the Arts, both of which serve impacted people and their families through advocating for criminal justice reform and by instilling arts education in the lives of incarcerated people. Our hope is that through these conversations, we can begin to connect the story of Jarvis Jay Masters to a much wider continuum of experiences. These panelists articulate a vision for the future that demands our attention and resources. To learn more, please visit the websites that you see on your screen now and consider getting involved in whatever way makes sense for you. Thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy Got My Wings.